everyone, and welcome to week 1 of English 120. This week, we'll be talking about the class and how it's going to work. You'll learn how to reach me, your professor. You'll get an introduction to discussion forums and how you will be graded in this class. You'll also learn about active reading, and you'll learn about how you'll be writing about your active reading in your journal each week. Plus, you'll have your first active reading exercise. Then, finally, you'll get an introduction to Launchpad, which is our research unit for this class. Launchpad is embedded in this course, so it should be easy for you to follow along. It comes as a add-in when you buy the Bedford Researcher. I'll tell you more about it in a second. The only reading for this week is an online article on Jack London, and the link is here. But we will be using both of the books beginning next week, and you do need access to Launchpad this week, so please make sure you buy your books immediately. Your assignments this week are your introduction discussion and your first journal, which is a letter to myself on the last day of class. You'll see the prompt later in this orientation video. Finally, your Launchpad assignment, the first one, orientation and overview, is due by the end of the week. Welcome! It's nice to virtually meet you. My name is Dr. Iris Jamal Dunkel. You can call me Dr. Dunkel through our communications. I've taught English for 12 years now. I went to George Washington University for my BA, and I graduated in 1996. I got my MFA in poetry from New York University in 1998, and I got my PhD in American literature from Case Western Reserve University in 2010. In addition to being a teacher, I'm also a poet, and I'm a Jack London scholar. We're going to be focusing a lot on Jack London this semester, and I promise I'll be bringing to you the most up-to-date and exciting information that I'm coming across in my own research, because right now I just began working on a new book on Charmian London, which will be out from the University of Missouri Press, and it's about Charmian London, who was Jack London's second wife and the love of his life. If you want to learn more about me and all about your fellow students, please make sure you read all of the posts in this week's conversation. Here's a little introduction to English 120. All the weekly content will be posted every Monday night. If you log in on Tuesday morning and get started, you'll be in very good shape. You'll also receive an email on Tuesday mornings, which will include a link to a summary of everything we're going to be doing this week and a link to our course website. When you click on our course website, you'll see a video lecture and PDFs of the lecture slides. Watch the video first. After you watch the lecture, complete the week's assignments in the order that they are posted. You must complete all of the assignments during the week they are due. If you have any questions, the best way to reach me is via email or in person during office hours, and I highly suggest logging in early in the week so that if you do have questions, you have time to reach me. Here's our text for this class. The books are available at the campus bookstore. Please obtain these books as soon as possible. As you'll see by reviewing our course schedule, you already have readings due, not this week, but next week. But you do have to have access to the Launchpad, which comes with the Bedford Researcher. Our books are The Portable Jack London, edited by Earl Labor, The Bedford Researcher by Mike Palmquist. You want to make sure you have the 5th edition, and The Valley of the Moon by Jack London. Please try to get this edition. It's the one that's available at the bookstore. If you don't get this edition, just know that you are on your own for page numbers. But there's also a link to a free version of this book in the left-hand navigation. If you're good at, if you can print the pages out and take notes on them, you should be fine doing that as well. Course requirements. Please expect to log in at least 4 times a week and come prepared for class, just as you would in a face-to-face class. Post regularly in our online discussion forums and respectfully respond to your peers. I will post a rubric on our course site that clearly states how your participation will be graded in this class. All papers and homework assignments are due by the due date that is posted on Blackboard. Should an unexpected conflict arise, you must get in touch with the instructor as soon as possible. That's me. It is a student's responsibility to inform the admissions office if you drop this course. An instructor is mandated to provide a letter grade to students still on the roster past a certain date. If students fail to drop the class appropriately, a grade of F can be assigned. So, how will you be graded in this class? English 120 requires students to write a minimum of 600 words. Grading will be weighted as follows. Your essays, exams, and related assignments are worth 40% of your grade. Your online research unit, that's Launchpad, is worth 20% of your grade. And your participation, those are your weekly discussions, and your journal entries and a few other assignments are worth 40% of your grade. To fulfill the 6,000 word requirement and pass the class, students must complete all essays, including the in-class, there's no in-class essay, never mind, and the research paper with a minimum grade of a D or better in order to pass this class. So basically, make sure you turn in all of your assignments for this class, and I'm going to go over what those are. In participation, we do a discussion forum every week, except for 1 week we're going to be doing something different. Your reflection journal, you're going to be writing about what we're reading in your reflection journal or doing research in your reflection journal. We will do a library visit, or you'll be encouraged to take a library workshop, and that is worth 50 points. Conference attendance, we will have one-on-one conferences where you'll meet with me in my office. Those are worth 30 points. The essays and exams break down like this. Your first essay is compare and contrast essay, where you're going to be comparing two of Jack London's short stories. The first draft is due in week 1, the second draft is due in week 6. 2-week delay is because you're going to get feedback from me and be expected to revise it. Each is worth 50 points. Your discussion presentation on the world of the Valley of the Moon, which will happen in week 8 or 9, is worth 50 points. This is a larger presentation that's done via our discussion forum, and you'll be using visual, you'll use images and whatever, videos, whatever media you can find to enhance it. Your research prospectus, which will be the beginnings of your research journey, is due in week 10, and it's worth 50 points. Your annotated bibliography, which is a review of possible sources for your research paper, is due in week 12, and it's worth 50 points. Your research essay, the first draft is due in week 14. Your peer review, self-review, is due in week 15, and your final draft is due in week 16, which is worth 50 points, 50 points, and 100 points, for a total of 400 points. Finally, your research unit Launchpad is worth 20% of your grade, or 200 points. You need to complete your pre-test, post-test, and all 13 research lessons and quizzes. Overall grade will be an average of all quizzes. You can take the quizzes up to 2 times. Only your highest grade will count. Please make sure in between those 2 times, you give yourself some time to relearn the content if you get a really low grade on your first try. There are extra credit opportunities in this class. In fact, there's even one available this Friday. There's information about it on our, after you watch this lecture, just look down below and there's a link to an article that I wrote for the Press-Democrat, which is Sonoma County's newspaper. And if you read it, and you read the novel, Burning Daylight, and there's a link to the free version of that novel, and you attend the book discussion group at Jack London State Historic Park in Glen Ellen, which is about 40 minutes from Napa, you can get up to 10 points extra credit. You can also go on a docent-led tour at Jack London State Historic Park anytime during the semester and write a 1 to 2 page paper about the experience for 10 points extra credit. For more information about the park, visit the park website, and the URL is listed here. All English 120 students are required to write a minimum of 6,000 to 8,000 words, and as online students, guys, you're going to be writing much more than that because you have to write your response to everything. but everything in this class that you write that's a writing assignment will need to be in MLA format, and it will need to be in a MS Word document. That means it needs to be a .doc, .docx, or a PDF formatted file that's uploaded in the assignment folder. You also need to paste a copy of the text in your assignment. Please make sure you familiarize yourself with what MLA format looks like. You can find an MLA formatted paper on the right-hand side of the slide. Also, you can go to pages 363 to 367 in your book, The Bedford Researcher. Reading assignments and reading journal. Each student is responsible for completing the assigned readings and responses to them by the weekly deadline. Reading assignments serve to deepen understanding of the concepts, to develop critical thinking skills, and to provide models for writing. We will be learning the fine art of active reading in this class, and students will be expected to interact with their texts. That means writing notes on your text, looking at the words you don't know, asking questions. Each week, we will discuss the readings in the discussion forum or in your journal. In addition, students will post a weekly journal post where he or she answers questions about our reading assignments. It's very important you know how to reach me. Even though I'm not live in your class, I'm always here to support you as your professor. If you have any questions, please contact me. The best way to reach me is via email, idunkel@napavalley.edu. I'm also on campus every day. I'm either in my office or I'm at the Writing Center. I'll be holding office hours on Mondays from 12 to 2, Tuesdays from 11 to 12:30, and Thursday from 11 to 12:30. Also, you can set up an appointment at another time if those times don't work for you. So how do you complete your work each week? Each week, you want to start with the lecture, watch the video, and contact me immediately if you have any questions. Download the slides so you can refer back to them. Finish your work sequentially in the order that they're listed, and don't forget about the research unit. It's worth 20% of your grade. So one of the main ways that we're going to communicate via this class is called the discussion forums. It's called Our Conversations. Discussion forums are where we as a class discuss important topics. You're required to participate in these discussions in a timely manner, and you will be graded based on your participation. There will be a new discussion forum posted each week, and you must post your own response and responses to at least 3 of your classmates' posts before the end of the week. One thing that's really important to remember is that spelling and grammar count on these posts. Please make sure you run spell check and you reread your content before you post it. Remember that you are in an English class, and I am grading everything you post within this environment. Here's your rubric for how you're going to be graded for your discussion, your discussion posts. So for your main post, participant posted a response of at least 200 words to all topics posted by the instructor for that week and wrote a substantive reply, at least 150 words, to the message of at least 3 classmates. Comments, questions were responsive to the discussion questions. Comments or questions significantly enhance the quality of the discussion, such as illustrated a point with examples or suggested new perspectives on an issue, ask questions that help stimulate further discussion, or comments and questions provided evidence that the participant had read and considered a substantial number of classmates' postings before responding. Ideas were expressed in a clear and coherent manner. Student used correct grammar, spelling, and punctuation in post. Student signed post with his or her name. When responding to peer's post, student addressed peer in post. Now, from there, you start losing points if you don't do all that. That's a perfect post. That's 10 points. If you don't respond to 3 of your peers' posts, if you don't check your spelling and grammar, if you don't refer back to the questions that were asked of you or the text that we're discussing using quotations from those texts, you will begin to lose points. And the point values, as you can see here, this is how they go down. So for your first discussion forum, we've got an easy post, but please make sure you do all of these things. For your discussion forum post, please begin by first modeling your post after mine. You'll see that in week 1 discussions, I've already posted the first response so that you can see how to do it. You're going to post your full name and, if appropriate, your nickname or the name you'd like us to address you by in this class. Tell us where you're from and any details you'd like to share about your family or where you're from. When you tell us then when you felt like an insider as a reader, and then when you felt like an outsider as a reader. And if you want examples of this, read my post. Basically, it's just when you felt like you totally understood what was going on and everyone around you was on the same page, that's when you felt like a reader, an insider as a reader. When you felt alienated, when you felt like nobody else, right? Everybody else got it and you didn't, right? That's when you felt like an outsider. Also, please post a photograph. If you don't feel comfortable posting a photograph of yourself, you can post a photograph of something that you love, that's really dear to you, and explain why you posted that photograph. The next thing we're going to be talking about in class this week is active reading. So active reading is when you think about a text both before and after you read. You're going to need to do this not only on the text that we're reading for this class, but also in the text that we're reading when we write research essays later in this class. So before you read, I want you to look at the title of what you're reading. What does the title tell you about the text? Look at who wrote the text. Do you know anything about the author? What genre is it? Is it poetry, fiction, drama, nonfiction? When was it published? You need to really look for this information. Sometimes it won't be very obvious. Then, while you're reading, I want you to circle words that aren't familiar to you, and I want you to look them up in a dictionary. Write in the definitions on the actual page. Mark words or passages that make you think about things you've already read and explain how you think they relate to one another. Mark words or passages that bring to mind personal experiences and write these personal experiences down. Mark passages that you agree with or disagree with and state why you agree or disagree with the passage. Mark difficult passages. That way you can come back to them later after you've read more of the piece. Mark passages you really like and note why you like the passages. Mark parts of the text that highlight the main theme of the text and explain how you think these passages do so. If you get lost, try and summarize what's being said. And always throughout the text, ask questions. Write these on the page. Ask the author questions. Ask yourself questions. Or ask the characters in the story questions. So let's try this out. This week, you're going to be reading an article titled John Griffith, London. So I want you to look at the title and tell me, what does the title tell you about this text? Well, when you look at it, right, you see Jack London. You know that Jack London is an author, right, that we're going to be studying during the course of this semester. Maybe you find it strange that in the middle, there's a whole nother name in brackets, John Griffith. So you could ask why, right? But you could assume that this article is probably about Jack London, just based on the title. Who wrote the text? If you look closely, you'll see it's written by Dr. Clarice Stas. You know right away by seeing the word doctor that she has a PhD in some discipline, possibly related to literature or history. If you don't know anything about the author, you can Google that author. And if you Google Clarice Stas, you'll notice that she has a web page. I have a link to it here. You can look at all the different pages in the web page to really understand who she is and what authority she has to write about this topic. If you look at the page, you'll notice that she's written 2 books on Jack London and his wives. And I think that makes her very, very qualified to talk about this subject. She also has a PhD in history, which shows us that she's an expert in her field. Another thing you need to look at is what genre is it? Is it true or not true? Usually, if it's true, if it's meant as scholarship, it's nonfiction. That means it's not fictional. It's meant to be true. To find out where this article was published, you just need to look at the bottom of the page. It says last updated August 19th, 2001. That means this article is 14 years old. So that means some time has passed. Maybe some ideas about Jack London have changed over these last 14 years. So now what I'd like you to do is to print out this article and go through it, circle words that aren't familiar to you, go through all of these activities on the right-hand side while you're reading it, and talk to me about, tell me about this experience. Let me know if you're having a difficult time reading this article and understanding how to actively read it. You must write on the article in order to participate in active reading. So another way that you're going to be doing work in this class is by posting journal entries about the text that we read. You can access your journal prompts each week under Lessons and by clicking on the appropriate week. Week 1, Week 2, Week 3. Please make sure you read the assigned readings before you write your journal entry for the week. Your journal entry should be at least 250 words. It should answer all of the questions asked in the prompt, and it needs to be turned in on Monday at 11:59 p.m. each week. Your journal is private. That means that only you and I see your entries. So don't be afraid to use your journal posts as a means to think through the text that we're reading, or as a way for you to think about your research project. Each journal entry is worth up to 10 points. You must turn your journal entries on time to receive full credit. Please make sure you run spell check and you watch your grammar. You proof your grammar before you turn it in. So here is your first journal entry. Each week you'll be given a prompt and or questions to read and write about. For this week's journal entry, please actively read the following biographical essay about Jack London, Jack John Griffith London, and then write a response that is at least 250 words. In your response, please do the following. Write a letter to yourself on the last day of class. What do you predict you've learned? What do you predict will be the most challenging for you? What goals do you have? What, based on your reading of the biographical essay, do you find interesting about Jack London's life? Did you know anything about Jack London before taking this course? What questions do you have about Jack London? Your journal entry is due next Monday at 11:59 p.m. You must turn your post in on time to receive full credit. Please make sure you use spell check and you edit your response before you post it. Next week, that's it, guys. Next week, we're going to move on. Please don't forget, there is no slide to represent it, but you will be completing your introduction to Launchpad. It's listed under this week's content, so please don't forget to complete it. All right, that's it. Next week, we'll be moving on using our portable Jack London and the Bedford Researcher, so please make sure you have both texts available. I'll see you online.